Alright everyone, so welcome finally to a stream of CWR Racing League. As you can see, we are at the Austrian Grand Prix for round 4. You may be wondering what happened to round 3 at Spa, and that's a very simple explanation. The leadership of the league kind of changed and we didn't have access to the account that was streaming this, so I welcome the 5 people that are watching this. Thank you for taking your time to watch this race with me. So apart from the fact that we missed one race, we have another very interesting one ahead of us, which is in Austria. Very short track, only 10 corners, laps around just a minute, but still not short enough to prevent that from happening to the Norwegian boy. So looks like his shenanigans from last races are gonna keep continuing. In other words, we had a lot of departures from the league that left us for better leagues. For example, Felix 1 left us, and other people as well. So we have a lot of replacements. That doesn't necessarily mean they're bad, but it certainly did kind of screw up the chances of Williams winning the Constructors early on. So the last season's champion Preston isn't gonna be probably so dominant, at least for the first half of the season. We have 17 drivers on the grid, which is a record compared to other attendance numbers we had in the last races, maybe thanks to the replacements that we have here. So as far as what you missed in the last race, then it's not really much. It was a wet race around Spa. It was total carnage, lots of safety cars, you couldn't see anything, lots of collisions. The internet connection of the leader was cut short on the last lap, so that meant that someone else won the race. It was Jado that won the race, when it was supposed to be someone else, and that means that the championship standings right now are Preston, Jackson, Rythms, and Jado Racing are all in the top 4 positions and are only surrounded by 3 points each. So the championship is turning very interesting very early on. Let's not count out, for example, Colpo Grosso, Jake Marjo forever staying out of the battle, as they are only one good race away, probably around 20 points. And the Constructors are looking likewise, with McLaren, Williams and Mercedes all tied inside of 10 points. So the championship is looking very interesting, and we have 15 rounds ahead of us. We are already on round 4. Let's see what the others will bring us. So while I was talking about the big picture, Matmar set the fastest lap of the qualifying session, just short of 5 minutes after the start. It is a short lap around here, so we're gonna see loads of laps. And Preston actually set another fastest lap, this time beating the 1 minute 3 second time gap. And his teammate Matmar probably switched teams. He's in second place, so the Williams domination is very much still possible, but it's not that sure as it was last time. Jake Marsh in P3, Timbit in P4, Venom in P5, Nova Apollo P6 and Rythms in P7. That's the top guys that are in the 1 minute 4 range, kind of close to pole position. The others way off the pace somehow. As far as weather is concerned, it is very likely that it's going to rain, but the race will probably start out dry. Not sure when the rain will come, but they intentionally gave the sky to a cloudy condition so that people don't get their ice melted when they are coming into turn 1. In other news, the first banker laps of other people have been set, apart from 6 people in the grid who stayed in the pit lane so far. They still have a lot of time to get the laps in. They are not rushing anywhere. And here is Norwegian Boy trying to set a lap on his medium tires, but running wide onto the grass. Probably not the best lap he was hoping for. He started out with a 1 minute 11, and he's improving by 6.5 seconds, even though he was running wide, and he is on medium, so he might just look like a very interesting attempt after all. But he was involved in loads of shenanigans before the last races, and the improvement is there, but only for last place. So he probably needs to switch to softs as soon as possible. But he's going for another lap, and he actually set a purple first sector. So this looks actually very interesting. Starting on mediums is a risky strategy around Austria, but it could really help you to get the medium stint out of the way at first, and then have 2 stints on the softs. I don't imagine people doing the one-stop around here, as it is a very power-dependent circuit, and overtaking is going to be very important. It's very easy, and as I say that, I probably cursed him. There he is in the wall, so the good attempt is cut short for the Norwegian Boy, and his shenanigans continue throughout multiple races and multiple leagues. Don't ask me how I know that. So, the championship contenders Jado and Jackson are still waiting for their first qualifying laps. Meanwhile, these main competition, Preston already set a very good lap, and on his out lap to set an even better time because of his poor results around Bahrain and the first race that was in Brazil. He's not the dominant championship leader we used to know and love in Season 1. So maybe the championship is still gonna get somewhat interesting. Although the choice of the races going to the championship finale has stayed the same as last season, and we're gonna be finishing off the season with Hungary and Singapore. Very controversial choices, to be honest, but if it brings good racing, then it brings good racing. So Preston is starting his another hot lap. The only person to break the 1 minute 3 second mark as far as time is concerned. His rivals Jado and Jackson still not out there, and he improves by only half a tenth, so not that big of a deal, but there's not much room for improvement there. It is literally just one corner in the first sector. The thing that's going to count is the second part of the lap, as we're about to cross the halfway point of this qualifying session. Still not everyone has completed a full qualifying lap here. So let's go on board with Preston to finish off the lap around Austria. But it looks like on the mini-map that lap is going to be invalidated, isn't it? Yeah, I think it is. It doesn't count. There wasn't an improvement, but it wasn't a big one. So maybe he's going to go for another one, but it doesn't look like it, yeah. So the improvement for Preston isn't there, and that may give room for other people trying to take him down. Jado, for example, on another lap here. He's leading the championship, but just by 1 point ahead of Rythims, and then by 2 points ahead of Jackson and Preston. Colpo Grosso is P5 in the championship, scoring no points in the last 2 races after his only victory in Brazil. So Jado, very strong contender for Preston. Let's see what the lap will be. And it's not enough, it's only P4. So he is even below Jake Marsh and Matt Marr. I don't know how the league will be counting the points when there are so many sudden driver switches. Matt Marr used to be in Red Bull, but NSA Pyramids is taking a leave, so that's why he probably replaced him. And the place in Red Bull was subbed by Ghost Fired Up. And speaking of him, he got up to P7, but is immediately taken down by Nova Apollo, who sets a better lap, but not the best as far as the competition is concerned. Jackson, for some reason, still hasn't gone out for 1 lap. I don't know what the problem is, but I hope it's not another connection issue, because if I was commentating on the Spa race, I would really lose my temper. So Dulger, who apparently subbed into Mercedes, and Jackson are the only people who haven't set a lap yet, but Rhythm sets the fastest first sector and the second fastest lap of the qualifying session, beating out Matt Marr, but doesn't beat out Preston. He's still above 1 minute free. But look at the times, the top 9 is inside 1 second, so the competitiveness after so many shakeups in this league is probably tightening, and that's very good to see. So Matt Marr will try to do something about Rhythms, maybe even attack pole position. The gap isn't so huge, but the lap around Austria is so short. Where can you make up the time? This circuit is very reliant on exit speeds and just having the DRS of the person in front of you. There are no places that you can really like save fuel, save ERS and just go full conservative mode and still be comfortable in the position you're in. You have to fear for your position every single corner you go into. So as far as Matt Marr is concerned, he improves, but not by a lot. Although he doesn't need a lot of improvement, he just needs 2/10ths to get pole, 1/10 to get P2, and I'm sure he's going to be satisfied with that after his previous results in the previous races. So around the final corner he goes, and the time is going to be better, but not enough. So 11 hundredths of a second, no, sorry, 11 thousandths of a second separate him and Rhythms. Jake Marsh was trying to do something about it, but his last lap was apparently invalidated, so he's gonna probably try again. I don't imagine people are trying to experiment with going on the mediums, except for Riceman and TM Ducky, who are in further downward places, so that strategy is not gonna help them with the biggest probability. And Jackson still hasn't set a lap yet. Dulger finally has, but it appears that Jackson probably has another connection issue, or else I don't imagine why he wouldn't be setting at least 1 lap 3 minutes before the qualifying will end. Jake Marsh gets his lap validated yet again. Matt Marr will try to do another improvement, and he does. The improvement is microscopically small, just 3 thousandths of a second, and it's enough to beat Rhythms. So there was a little celebratory weave you saw from Matt Marr. I'm sure he's very, very happy with that. So in other news, we have 2.5 minutes left in qualifying. Everyone is probably waiting for their last attempt at the fastest lap here. And so Rhythms and Madmar are gonna be probably the hottest competition right now, as it doesn't seem that anyone will be challenging Preston's time. So Jackson will not be setting a lap here, probably. The only people that are further down the grid are trying to do something about their placement on the grid in the race. So let's see what Team Ducky's time will be. And it's an improvement by 2/10, so around Austria that's very valuable, but it only promotes him up to P13. So the competitiveness of this league is really mounting. Also, Nova Apollo is trying to set a lap here in P6, a very interesting prospect that we saw firstly on the special event at Monza. He got, after the shake-up of so many drivers, he got the seat, the full-time seat at Alfa Romeo. And he's proving his worth, as he did have the fastest second sector. Let's see what the third one will be. We only have 1 minute left in qualifying, so probably everyone is setting their lap times already. And it isn't an improvement, actually. He's missing out by 4/10 on his last lap, so not the best display of him. But Preston is on his lap, and he's improving by 1/10 already at the first sector, so maybe he's trying to put the nail in the coffin for the rest of his competition. Maybe take Matmar down. The difference is only marginal, but if he can improve on himself, I'm sure that's gonna guarantee him pole. Around the second sector, he improves by a further 2/10. So I'm thinking if he doesn't do a mistake in the last two corners, he's gonna have the pole position well and truly secured. Doesn't look like he did anything wrong this lap, and deservedly he's gonna get pole position after this. That's an improvement of 3/10. Matmar decided to end the session right in there. Probably not enough for another lap. Right now everyone is trying to set their lap times, but I'm not thinking it's going to be anything really magical. Rhythms is going to be the first out of the competition to try to challenge Preston in the pole battle, and the improvement isn't there. Next up on the list is going to be Jado, and he ran a little bit wide, and that invalidates his time at the end, so no improvement for him. Also, Jake Marsh maybe, but it looks like his lap was invalidated as well. So this brings a rather disappointing end to this qualifying session, after everyone was probably pushing too hard to get in front of Preston, and it's easy to see why. People have been risking too much on track to get in front of Preston, but it looks like his pace around Austria, as far as qualifying is concerned, will be unchallenged this season. So Preston on pole, and his other championship rivals are very far behind, actually. Only Rhythms is P3, then Jado P7, and Jackson P6. So there's gonna be some traffic if they are intending on fighting each other for the championship. But this is Austria, and there is a lot of people here, so I am expecting not the cleanest racing, as we have seen in earlier races. And we're gonna be seeing a lot of overtaking, so get ready for that, because this isn't going to be a very boring race. So Team Ducky, it appears that he has a 5-place grid drop. I don't know what that's for, but I don't think it really matters if he's last or 12th or whatever. So we're gonna be waiting for the race to start. We're gonna be having 36 laps around here, so it may seem a lot, but the laps will go by very quickly. So we are slowly but surely waiting for the grid to line up. So after the penalty, TM Ducky will be starting last place. And somehow, I don't know if my graphic is somehow glitching out, but we are seeing Jackson P6. I don't know how that happened. And there is a lot of carnage going on, as it was one McLaren that got crashed out, and a whole lot of people is disqualified on the formation lap. Maybe that's gonna somehow influence their race start because of the tire temperatures. So 36 laps ahead of us. 17 drivers and a whole lot of carnage ahead of us. Let's see what that will bring us. So a Williams 1-2 on pole right now. Third place Rhythms, Venom P4, Jake Marsh P5, Jackson P6 and Jado P7. The Norwegian boy right in the middle of it. He's gonna be the one to watch as far as carnage is concerned. And we have an amazing graphic here. We're gonna go on board with Preston for a while. Never mind, 5 lights go out. And away we go for the Austrian Grand Prix. Looks like a comfortable start. There was someone going wide there, but the two Williamses are gonna regain their first positions. There's a lot of carnage there. Look at that. McLaren and Renault clashed. Too many people try to go down the inside of each other into turn 1, and that promotes Venom up into P3. He's going to be knocking on the doors of the Williamses. Look at that dive that Ghost Fired Up just took. That was a lot of damage, and he hurt a lot of people while doing that. So Jake Marsh and Jado are all going to be getting a lot of positions. TM Ducky already gained 7. No, scratch that, 8. Look at that, so many battles. That's someone going wide there. That's a Toro Rosso and, sorry, Alpha Tauri and a Red Bull. They had the collision in turn 3. Probably the Norwegian boy returned the favor as far as collisions are concerned. And that's gonna hurt them both. So somehow Jackson started P6 and now he's in P16. As the drilling in the apartment above my house continues. I hope you don't mind that. So the two Williamses still stay in the lead. And the Haas of Venom right behind them. Then it's gonna be Jake Marsh, Jado and Timbit rounding out the first DRS train that's gonna be created at the start of this race. And behind them, after the scoreboard finally stops glitching out, it's probably gonna be Forever Sin Nova Apollo and TM Ducky and Tiku in another train. And then it's gonna be Trigger. Oh my god, what a collision there. Riceman got Vettel spinaled in the same corner that Vettel did, and he's retired immediately. I don't know what happened there. It's very hard to judge, so many collisions happening at once. But that didn't look like the cleanest overtake to me as well. So the first train is still static, and the second train just had another elimination, and it looks like Trigger and Dulger are slowly but surely gonna catch up to it. So the 4 bottom runners are the Norwegian boy Forever Singh, Ghost, Fired Up, and Jackson. They were all involved in some kind of collisions and did do a pit stop. And now another round of pit stops is gonna happen for Tiku and Trigger. So this train dynamic that I was describing is probably gonna get broken up into pieces. But the battle for the lead will still continue, as the DRS is already activated. We are on lap 3. So Matmar will slowly but surely be knocking on the door of Preston right now. Venom in P3, Jake Marsh in P4, and Jado in P5 still. There was a lockup probably. And the DRS train will get created. Who's gonna break it first? That's the question. TM Ducky will be now under attack by Nova Apollo. There was a lot of penalties. I'm sure that there were some stop and go penalties that people already served. So Ghost Fired Up got a penalty for that incident with the Norwegian boy. It's hard to judge. Both of them caused a lot of carnage. And Nova Apollo probably got a corner cutting penalty, so there's no way to kind of judge that. So in other news, Preston sets the new fastest lap of the race on lap 3, but he's still in the DRS window of Matmar, so he's gonna be under attack. Venom still in the DRS window, but it looks like it's breaking. And he's gonna be under attack from Jake Marsh and Jado, so Jake Marsh, out of nowhere, the dark horse of this race, will probably come back and get some good points. Maybe shake up the championship order even more as it already is. Timbet is losing touch with both of these trains. He's breaking off the Nova Apollo TM Ducky battle, but he's not close enough to the top 5 yet. So he needs to up the pace. As far as his softs are concerned, the Norwegian boy sets the fastest lap of the race, but he's almost a lap down right now. So not sure if he has ever intentions of climbing back up the grid. Maybe he's gonna be hoping for a safety car. Let's hope he's not gonna be trying to cause the safety car. Dulger is losing touch with the second small train, and then it's Jackson and Ghost Fired Up all going their own races. And the 2 pit stop runners at lap 3 or 2 are gonna get caught up by Forever Sin and the Norwegian boy, who also went into the pit lane. So lots of potential for carnage here. But let's hope it doesn't come to that. I would really love a replay. Hold up. Jake Marsh is going for the move on Venom right even before the DRS straight. So how about that? But Venom is trying to go back down the inside into turn 4. Looks like it hasn't worked into the inside. They're still side by side, but it looks like Venom is going to give in for now. He's gonna bide his time. There's a lot of overtaking opportunities, and the 2 of them are slowing down enough for Jado to pick up on the battle. Try to do something with this championship gap. The Preston is going to be slowly but surely creating. So in other news, TM Ducky and Nova Apollo in another battle right now. And they're going side by side into the second last corner, but we haven't seen much of the battle because of the amazing cameras that we're getting right now. So in other news, Preston broke the 1 second DRS window to Matmar, and behind him the battle for P3 is very feisty indeed as Venom goes back down the inside of Jake Marsh. And he gets P3 back, and looks like Jado is gonna join the battle slowly, sneaking up behind him. Jake Marsh is thinking about another dive down the inside. That was very aggressive, and it cost him the position again as Venom got advantage of him losing the traction into that corner, and he retakes P3 for now. There's a yellow flag in sector 1. Norwegian boy is DNF'd. So upon inflicting carnage on others, he inflicted carnage on himself. So at least no stupid incidents will be happening now. And the train of the battle for P3 is still tighter than ever, but Jado already gets a penalty, probably for corner cutting, but loads of people getting so many penalties. Look at that, how they're chasing each other for the slipstream. And Jake Marsh is attempting another move into turn 3, very good overtaking opportunity, and he gets the job done. Forces Venom wide, and that invites Jado for a pass around Venom, and he gets it done even before the braking zone. Is he gonna try to come back? That's the question. Look at that, Jado is making move on Jake Marsh now, and they're going side by side into turn 4. This is amazing. Amazing stuff. Into turn 6 they go, still side by side. Lots of locking up from Jake Marsh, losing the rear end there, holding a Venom in the process. And that gives Jado a lot of time to work with to try to break the DRS window and try to chase after the Williamses. So the mistake from Jake Marsh really benefited him there, and Venom in this whole kerfuffle loses 2 positions, is gonna work really hard to get it back, because that was a very costly mistake that Jake Marsh made. Not only hurting himself, but also Venom in the process, because he forced him wide there. Obviously it wasn't a penalty, but it was a dirty move nonetheless. And look at that, Venom is trying to do something about it. Another dive into the inside of turn 4. They touch a lot, but it doesn't appear that there was damage, thankfully. But that was an aggressive move, and also an aggressive shutting the door type of thing. So not sure how to describe that, but Jake Marsh is really feeling the pressure right now. He's locking up into every single corner. Jado still has a penalty, but at least on track he's trying to do something about it. He's gonna try to chase after Matmar, who is holding a Mercedes 1-2 kind of gap between Preston and Matmar, when there's a 2-second gap so they don't fight each other, but they're still getting the 1-2 anyway. But this whole battle is inviting the McLarens of Timbit and Rythims to catch back up to them, so they're going to be joining the battle very soon. It's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out after the round of pit stops, as everyone started on the softs except for, I think there was Trigger and TM Ducky, who already gained 9 positions. So maybe Driver of the Day award going to him. We'll see about that. So Venom, after 2 laps of constant DRS on Jake Marsh, is still not able to close up enough, even though Jake Marsh is having loads of lockups. So not sure what's happening to Venom. He's the only person who doesn't have a penalty yet. As we're gonna enter lap 10, so almost third of the race has passed already, and the lead hasn't changed, but the battle for the podium positions is certainly not over yet. Let's have a look at the tires. So Tiku is on hards after that incident at the beginning, so he's going for the long game, and Foreverson went on to the mediums, but he's so far down the grid I don't imagine him ever joining the big battle. So everyone on softs right now. As far as penalties are concerned, mostly just corner cutting penalties. So the gap between Preston and Matmar is widening even more, and Jado is tightening the gap to Matmar. So maybe the battle for P3 will turn into a massive battle for P2. We'll have to see about that. Maybe the McLarens will finally join in, and TM Ducky is very close to that as well. After that we only have spread out pieces of what was originally considered a competitive grid, but the Carnage split them up very well indeed. So it looks like Jado is gonna be in the 1 second window, not on this straight, but the lap times of him are really saying something about this. And Jado is in the DRS of Jake Marsh. No, he isn't. So Jake Marsh has to work twice as hard to close up to Jado. And Venom as well. So we're seeing a very weird dynamic here, as the DRS windows are not there, but the gaps are close nonetheless. But what am I talking about? Jado is finally in the DRS window of Matmar, and we're gonna be expecting a move very soon. They are carrying their soft tires for 11 laps now, so we're gonna be expecting the pit window to open soon. Not sure if anyone is gonna be trying the one stop from softs to mediums. Don't know if everyone has the balls to do that. But Jado has closed the gap from 1 second last lap to just 1/2 oh never mind. Matmar is going into the pits, so that overtake wasn't as dramatic as I initially thought it would. So the question will be, what tires is he going on? Is he trying the one stop or the two stop? He's gonna be undercutting the whole field now, and it looks like he's going on hards. So he's trying the one stop strategy, the safe version, but he's gonna be a very slow driver on the track. So him and Ghost fired up, went into the pit lane. That promoted Jake Marsh and Jado on the podium positions, whilst Venom is slowly being backed up into the two McLaren drivers right now. Almost the whole field has at least one penalty, so they're gonna play a huge role after the on-track battles are finished. Who gets what? Venom had a very interesting slip on that curb. That's gonna back him up into Timbit even more. As I was talking about penalties, Jake Marsh gets another one. And Venom, after that slip, I'm pretty sure that's why he decided to go into the pits. So he's doing another early stop, similar to Matmar. Let's see what his strategy is gonna be going forward in this race. And it looks like the team has prepared the mediums for him. No, actually not. It's another set of hards. So the one stop probably becoming popular, or maybe he's trying to do the opposite and trying to be out of sync of everyone to risk getting a better strategy. Preston is in a very comfortable lead with 5 seconds separating him from second place. He hasn't got a pit stop yet, but even after it, I'm sure that he's gonna get back into the lead if there is not a safety car or something. So we are 1/3 of the race in, and there was a lot of action, but the tire wear certainly split up the grid into multiple pieces. It looks like the rest of the grid will not be going into the pits. Never mind, there's one McLaren of Timbit going into the pit lane on lap 14, but as you can see, the sky is darkening a lot. So the question will be, when will we see the rain that was forecasted? Because the sky is significantly darker than it was. Oh, look at that. Matmar under attack from Dulger. Dulger is one pit stop behind, but he still has soft tires, so that's an advantage nonetheless. But it looks like Matmar is gonna secure the position that he got. So yeah, the sky is darkening very fast. And so that's why maybe the front of the grid isn't very keen on stopping and are willing to extend their tires beyond a reasonable limit. Right now Preston is pulling into the pit lane. He is the new organizer of this league now, so he was the one that created the weather forecast, so maybe some kind of corruption will be happening here. I don't want to expose him, but it is getting very possible. So he's gonna go onto the mediums, so not risking another set of soft, just like Jake Marsh is doing. And that looks like, oh never mind, that was the game glitching yet again. So Rhythm's also stopped. There's TM Ducky stopping for mediums, so maybe they were asking Jeff about the rain and they weren't sure about the one-stop strategy onto the hards. Maybe they will try to extend the mediums, who knows? We don't see into the minds of these guys. So as far as tires are concerned, Jado P1, but hasn't stopped yet and is on very busy tire wear. Preston on new mediums, Matmar on new hards. Dodger hasn't stopped yet on its softs. Venom on hards, Jake Marsh on new softs, Timbit and Rhythms on mediums. So the strategy seems very clear now that everyone will be trying the one stop. It's just that people risked going further on the softs, and that's probably gonna benefit them going forward. Jado, the race leader, is not the race leader anymore after his pit stop onto a set of medium tires, and he's gonna get P3 eventually. So his victory in the podium battle really came in handy, and the overcut proved very efficient for him. As you can see, the whole train behind him already made a stop, but it was much closer than before. And the person leading this train is on hard, so he's gonna be slowing them down even more. So Jado has a lot of breathing room right now if he wants to chase after the two Williamses, and Matmar is on hards. So the pace advantage of Jado is gonna really show there. And it's only a matter of time before Jado is gonna get Matmar in the end. But what can shuffle up the grid still is the constant threat of rain, as the sky is very dark. And also, who knows when a safety car will get pulled out. Because look at the train that's forming behind Dodger, who hasn't stopped yet. I don't know what he is risking right now, but it doesn't seem to be paying off well. The Dodger is, apart from Rhythms, the only person in the fight for some good positions that doesn't have a penalty yet. So he's gonna be using that to his advantage, but not anymore, as he is being attacked by two people on the same straight. So the tire wear advantage is certainly there for the rest of the field. So he got overtaken by Jake Marsh and Venom very quickly, and now it's gonna be Rhythms inviting himself over on this screw the Dodger party. Next up is gonna be Timbit, who's gonna get it in a very non-overtaking zone. I would love to know what the tire wear percentages are for Dodger right now. In other news, Jado is really closing the gap. He already got a second down inside of 2 laps. So we're gonna be seeing a lot of action between those two. And then behind them, the train is gonna get very interesting. Jake Marsh is leading it so far, but he is on soft, so he's... In order to make the softs efficient, he needs to break the DRS window, otherwise it will not work, and he's out of the ERS. But look at that, Rhythms is on the move, and he got Venom even before the braking zone. That's how efficient the medium compound is compared to the hard. And Rhythm's teammate Timbit is gonna be the next one to join this Screw the Hards train. And he's gonna close up to Venom as soon as possible. And so the hard tire runners will fall down the order, as Jado got another lap in and another 4/10 down on Matmar. So it looks like the move for second place is inevitable for those two, and the gap between Preston and Matmar is very stable right now. Both of them have a penalty, so that's not gonna play into action here so far. Fighting for the last bit of points are also Nova Apollo and Team Ducky, but what we're gonna be focusing on instead is Timbit and Venom. And Timbit is gonna finish the job on the hard tire runner Venom. So look at that move into turn 3, but it looks like Venom has defended quite well, but he ran wide and he spun. There was another Vettel. Last time we saw that this race was from the Norwegian boy who DNF'd. But Venom probably understands the situation and he didn't have the pace anyway. So the hard tires are out of the way of the front of the pack, except for Matmar, who is yet to be overtaken. Team Ducky and Nova Apollo having a little side battle for the small amounts of points. And meanwhile at the front, you can see that the gap between Jado and Matmar at the top of the screen is shortening and shortening. It's only 1.1 second now. And it used to be about 5 after a round of pit stops, so the hard tires are not the right choice here, as we are over the half of the race in, and we're still impatiently waiting for the alleged rain to come. But the DRS window is finally there for Jado. His patience is finally getting rewarded. And he needs to line up the move as soon as possible if he wants to have a chance at stopping Preston's charge for the win. As far as Dojo is concerned, he finally went into the pit lane and he's outside of the points. So the massive overcut didn't really work for him. And Jado on the start-finish straight closes the gap down to 7/10. So the overtake is inevitable, unfortunately, for Myanmar. The 1-2 from Williams will probably not be happening, but we're only halfway through the race. So let's not count anyone out of this battle. Jado is going to be very patient with his move. Didn't try to dive down the inside, maybe ghost fired up and the Norwegian boy can take lessons from that. So the gap is down to 4/10 already, and behind them the train that's being spread out very much because of the tire advantage that Jake Marsh has so far on those softs. But he was probably thinking of not going on another set of dry tires, and he was probably waiting for the rain to come. And that hasn't happened yet, so maybe the end stage of the race is gonna be much harder for Jake Marsh, and he's feeling the pain of the tire wear as he gets another penalty. And so Jado only half a second down, so he's gonna be lining up the move probably on this lap already. So look at that, not going for the move on the start-finish straight. He's gonna bide his time for the best overtaking opportunity into turn 3, and the battle is very fierce, but Jado has the pace advantage. He's gonna go into the inside of turn 3, and the move is done, although Myanmar is still holding it side by side, and he gets him back. The exit from Jado wasn't the best. He gets squeezed into the inside then, but the move is done before the braking zone. Now he squeezed him wide, but that was an aggressive dive bomb from Myanmar as well, so not the cleanest racing you have seen. But the move would happen whether he liked it or not, so is Myanmar gonna be a victim of the charge of the fresher tire compounds? It's gonna be the question. He didn't have the pace on Jado. Will he have the pace on Jake Marsh and the McLarens? That's gonna be a very important question. And is Jado's pace really better than Preston's? The gap is enormous. Even for 13 laps, he would need to be on fresh softs in order to have a chance at getting him back. Let's see what the penalty count is. And Jake Marsh picked up a lot of them, but so far the rest of the grid is at 3 or 0 penalties. So out of 17 runners, we only had 2 retirements, which I'm very surprised about, but loads of people had their races very much screwed over out of the carnage that happened at the beginning, as is the case in every league race you have seen on this channel. So Myanmar is not giving up yet. He's still in the DRS window for the next overtaking opportunity, so maybe he's gonna bounce back at Jado. And Jake Marsh is not catching him the way that I was expecting him to, so Myanmar 7/10 down, but thanks to the DRS closes it down to 4. Let's see if he will try to make a move into turn 3 now. So the DRS is there, the gap is pretty much non-existent. Maybe he's gonna try to do a dive. Not yet. Not yet. He's waiting very patiently. He still has a lot of time. 12 laps to go is a lot. And also Jake Marsh and the McLaren's realizing it, so they are not doing anything extreme just yet. But let's see what the tire strategy will be for Jake Marsh, as he has to stop again. And the rest of the field gets a free choice if they want to or don't want to stop. It's gonna be decided based on their tire wear, but I don't imagine Jado having the intention of stopping and just letting Matmar get his position just because he is on the hards. Matmar still in the DRS window though, so maybe the move will come soon enough. In other news, Jake Marsh is closing the gap, but not really fast enough. Maybe the softs are finally wearing out for him, and the stop that he's gonna have to do is gonna set him back down the grid, maybe even into like P9 or 10. So Rythms is gonna inherit P4, and McLaren is gonna get a good deal of points out of this race, even though the results isn't so satisfying. The biggest winner of this race is going to be Williams, obviously, but we're just gonna have to wait and see what Matmar will be able to do off the worst tire compound and the cloudy weather situation that we have going on there. There's still a 20% chance of rain, and I'm not sure if that's gonna be enough to really force the guys into the pit lane and go onto the wet tire compounds. So Matmar still holding the DRS window. It's just that strong around Austria, even though he's not on the best tire compound right now. The tire wear of the mediums towards the end of the race will even out the overall pace. And Jake Marsh is still holding the small 2-second gap to Matmar, maybe waiting for a mistake, but Rysims is catching him, and the DRS window will open for those two. So the tire wear of the softs is getting really exposed at this point, and it's only 9 or 10 laps left in this race, so Jake Marsh cannot stop again for another set of softs. So that's gonna be very interesting to see what's gonna happen to his race now. So we have 9 laps left. Jake Marsh hasn't stopped yet, but he's under threat of Rythms. Now Matmar still holding the DRS window, but not able to capitalize on using it. So that's not the best situation to be in right now. And the lapped car of Ghost Fired Up is getting tangled into the battle of Rythms and Jake Marsh, and look at that. That's a dive into the inside of turn 4. A lock up there, but it doesn't influence it whatsoever. Ghost Fired Up is still looking at this with amusement. Maybe trying to shuffle himself in there. Try to unlap himself. But yeah, Rythms gets the P4 whether Jake likes it or not, because Rythms doesn't have to stop again, and Jake does. With 8 laps left, I don't know what Jake Marsh is intending on doing here, what the strategy is, because having one stop from softs to softs towards the end of the race like this, that's not the best tire strategy. He's risking a lot by waiting for the rain or the safety car there. And look at that, he's gonna be under threat from the lapped car of Ghost Fired Up. This is going to spark up loads of penalties for ignoring the blue flags, and he ran wide in that overtake attempt and got some damage on the front wing as well. So very efficient overtaking from Ghost Fired Up. And it looks like Jake Marsh is going down the inside into turn 4 of Rythms, but that didn't work. He tried to outbrake him very late into the corner, and that didn't work. There was a collision, but they managed to get out of it without damage, thankfully. And so the battle for P4 continues in clean fashion so far. We have 7 laps left, and the lap car of Ghost Fired Up is going into the pit lane yet again, and Jake Marsh gets another penalty, so the battle for P4 is only happening on track, but off track the penalties have spoken very convincingly. So Ryfims doesn't need to worry about it at all. The gap to Matt Marr is probably not gonna get closed off in the late stages of this race. For Everson is going to be another lapped car with Trigger involved between the battle for P2 that's still ongoing, but Jado is still able to hold Matt Marr behind him. The penalty situation is the same for the whole top 3. So it's just gonna be a matter of time what the tire wear will do for Jado in the long run. He's on the mediums, but the tire wear will be much higher than Matt Marr, so the pace advantage will get evened out, and the patience that Matt Marr showed constantly behind Jado, not making any overly aggressive, impatient moves, is probably even gonna pay off. He still has 6 laps to complete the move back into P2. But I'm sure Matt Marr is gonna be satisfied with his performance for the Williams nonetheless, because of how poorly he did for the Red Bull. But being a teammate around Preston is a very big challenge, and he's probably pushing him, which is making him a better driver, who knows. But the whole Preston advantage is going to push the entire league probably to try to get better at this game, because the dominance of Preston is still not visible in the championship standings, but it is visible that it's gonna come. So let's hope we get a championship battle till the end of the season, at least. He increased his advantage to 9 seconds, so he can cut corners all he wants. He's gonna finish in P1 anyway. Jado, on the other hand, getting involved with Forever Sin, who is the lap car, getting a tow from him, so that's very beneficial to avoid an overtaking battle with Matt Marr. And behind them, Rythims is building up the gap very nicely, and Timbit is going to be attacking Jake Marsh, but it looks like he isn't going into the pit lane, so maybe I was wrong about his strategy. He did make 1 stop, and I'm pretty sure he started on softs, and he is on softs right now, so prove me wrong in the chat. But as I was talking about bullshit, Timbit did an erratic move down the inside into turn 4 that was a little bit off track, a little bit questionable, but the pace and tire wear advantage was there anyway, so why bother? The penalty advantage is also very important to mention, as everyone has a penalty. And still, after starting a last place, TM Ducky is P8, so still a very interesting show from him, but Jado could be a candidate for driver of the day anyway, because he started P7 and he's still fighting for P2. Trigger tried to move out of the way by going wide there, but he just involved himself more in that battle, and Matt Marr is losing touch it with the 1 second of Jado, maybe. The left car is already out of the way, so probably not, but we have 4 laps left in the race. And the window for Matt Marr to make a move is slowly closing, so he needs to think about how can he use the patience that he showed for the duration of like half the race. And as you can see, there are drops of rain falling on the circuit towards the end, so we have 3 laps left. It's the fact that if people are going to be going to the pits, it's going to be dependent on how strong the rain really is and how it affects your driving. But it could really shake up the order still. Probably not the race lead though. Preston is very comfortable with where he is. But the close battles, for example, Jado and Matmar, are gonna get influenced by this very much. There's a yellow flag in the last sector, and that looks like Jake Marsh is without his front wing. And he did the collision. Oh my god, there's a safety car. Okay, so Jake Marsh is somehow on intermediate tires. We haven't seen that. He is without a front wing. And he did the collision at the start of the lap, so he needs to do a full lap before going back to the pits. So after I was criticizing this, maybe it was a good move after all, but the double pit stops during the safety car are not gonna benefit him that much. But the safety car is called out. 3 laps left. It's gonna get... The safety car is gonna go in probably in this lap, because the game doesn't really allow you to have the safety car finish on the last lap. Or finish the race even, so this is gonna be a very short safety car. This is only going to close up the race leaders, which is still gonna be amazing anyway, because if Preston was irresponsible enough with his advantage, he wasn't, because the penalties are still the same. But for the first time in this race, Preston finally has some kind of competition there. So yeah, safety car is in this lap, so the safety car only closed up the top 3, but that's gonna increase the competitiveness anyway, so we're gonna be without DRS for the rest of the race, just because of the rain and the safety car. And on intermediate tires, only the bottom half of the grid, it's not gonna be very affected by any points finishes, so the front of the grid isn't deciding on going to the inter, so they're gonna be struggling a lot. Maybe we're gonna see some spins, maybe some erratic overtaking, but that's what we're here for. So the top 4 restarting the safety car. Preston still in the lead, but was the restart good enough? That's the question. Jado was very patiently chasing after the Williamses the rest of the race. Now is his chance to finally convert that into a win. The gap was 4 tenths and now is being shortened to 3 to 2, but he isn't going for the dive. Behind him, Matmar and Rifeham still not engaged in any kind of battle, and that's the whole action we're gonna see. There's a lapped car of Jake Marsh behind them, so only the top 4s are really in competition, and Matmar is making a move on Jado. Look at that. Jado's coming back at him into the inside of turn 4. No collisions there, so finally some clean racing. Rifeham's patiently waiting to get some pieces out of this, so Matmar gets re-overtaken back, but that attempt was very good. So Preston got benefited again from this battle, and he's immediately 1.5 seconds away. The rain isn't affecting him whatsoever. But yeah, very, very good to mention is that Rifeham's doesn't have a penalty. So after all, just because of Rifeham's patience and consistency, Rifeham's is gonna finish P2 after just going cleanly. He just drove, and somehow he's gonna get the better of these two who have been fighting tooth and nail for 36 laps. Rifeham's just needs to stay in the 3-second window and just not get a penalty on the last lap. We only have 2 sectors to go in this race. Preston is going to convincingly win the race. Jado and Matmar are still going to be fighting, but it's not going to matter anyway because Rifeham's doesn't have a penalty still. And if he gets the last corners correctly, he's going to win. Well, not win. He's going to get 2nd place anyway. The rain seems to be affecting the others still, but I don't know why Rifeham's is risking a move around Matmar here. Oh my god. Okay, there was a collision involving Jake Marsh trying to unlap himself, and Rifeham's got tangled up with Matmar, and that penalty advantage probably won't matter because Jado got a very big advantage off of that collision. So let's see. Preston wins. Jado 2nd place. Will Rifeham's overtake him after penalties? And he won't. No way. And so somehow, the two McLarens of Riftems and Timbit get P3 and P4. Oh my, oh my. And get almost... Yeah, they get the same points as the Williams did. Even though Preston drove so convincingly, Manmar fell down to P5 after that weird collision there. I'm sure the stewards will have a look at that collision, because that wasn't the cleanest overtaking. So, Riftems P3, Jado P2, even though I was talking about Riftems just trying to bring it home, it didn't work. The patience and the consistency that he sacrificed his overall pace for just wasn't enough. And even though he drove very well, Riftems is only gonna get P3. So I'm very interested to see how they're gonna react in the podium interview after the race. So if you're still interested in watching, I would suggest you wait while we get the podium into the interview room, because there is a lot to talk about. And so somehow Manmar, after finishing P2 in qualifying and handling the gap between the rest of the field and Preston very well, the collision on the last lap means that he only gets 10 points off of this. Okay. So we're gonna try to get the guys into the interview room. Alright, so who do we have in the call? Alright, so do we have the whole podium here? Okay. So, I guess we have a lot to talk about here. Alright, let's start with the boring things firstly. Preston, congratulations on the win. Yay.
Yeah.
How was it just driving around 36 laps and just looking at the carnage behind you?
I was confident with my lap, because my lap felt brilliant. I don't know what to say really. Softs I was worried about getting to lap 15, I was worried about because they were sliding so much. And then I saw the carnage behind, I was like, okay, I could do this, because I could see, I think, Jarno, Matt, Jake, I think, battling, so they were holding each other up. I was just clearing away, and then safety car came out last few laps, and I'm glad, well, sorry to Rhythms, but...
Yeah, was it?
I mean, you would have won anyway, Preston, because you were like 3 seconds ahead. You would have won anyway, but...
So, how boring was the race? Did you scroll through your phone from time to time?
No, nothing like it's always a challenge, because like with Austria as well, the final few corners you can easily slide out and ruin the race.
Yeah.
And obviously saving tyres was a bit of an issue. I was scared about getting a puncture towards the end with the wet as well, all sliding around, hurting the tyres. But yeah, felt good.
Alright, and the more important stuff here, let's talk about the Jado incident and the Matmar incident and everything. What happened there?
Alright, so turn 1, I have no clue what the fuck happened. I had a very good start. I think right things you had a very shit start.
no joke.
And
I did. I got 9,000 RPM, and suddenly no joke, I got anti-stall.
Oh, oh fuck, man.
Insane.
Yeah.
But
what happened? Is I got I needed to brake for right, and it was like, whoa, that man's going slow. So I needed to brake. And then I kind of got bunched up. Then I think was Jake backed out, so I got to the left. And then I basically went as wide as I could through the whole corner, also on the curb without getting a warning. And suddenly I saw Rythims and Jackson just fucking die behind me, and I was like, okay, what the fuck? And then somehow into turn 1, I saw a car quickly like flashing behind me. I don't know what that was. It was a massive incident in turn 3 as well, behind me, and I was like, okay, and there was like a second gap behind me already to Tim, and then I had Jake and Mapmar in front of me. I kind of catched up to them, and I made a really sexy overtake on both of them on one straight, and then I just drove away. No, it was not Mapmar. What wasn't Mapmar? Who was it?
I
What
think
was Jake
Venom.
battling with? Yeah, Venom. And then I just drove away after that, and then I catched Mapmar. I decided to go long on these softs because I had like 90% ERS, so I used all my ERS on one lap, and barely lost any time with it. So
I'm gutted with Matt because there was a massive chance we could have got a 1-2, but
there was me.
Yeah, you were in front of him, so he was trying to get past you. Keelan had no penalties, and I don't know what happened, but I guess they were side by side through sector 2 and they spun.
What happened, Chado? Tell us about it from your perspective. Oh no, actually it was Rythims who saw the crash between Jake and Mapmar. What happened there?
Yeah, first of all the left cars. Please, if you're a left car,
I know,
just don't try to challenge people who are in P4 and P3. But I went around the outside of, I think, turn 5, and then because it was wet, I think Mapmar locked up and tapped the back of me. I don't know. I can't really blame him, to be honest. It was really tricky.
All right. So was Jake Marsh in any way involved in that collision?
No, he was on the inters, like on P12 or P13, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. He was running really good, and then I think he just
he did a dumb strategy. He went double soft. Then anyway, like the double soft didn't make sense anyway because the rain was only gonna come in the last 5 minutes, so the tires would die out anyway.
I can see what he was doing because it got like so dark. It was unbelievable how dark it got.
It was so dark during the first half of the race.
When Jeff says 50 minutes until rain, he actually means 2 hours. So going soft doesn't make any sense. It doesn't really work.
It was also the first lap incident, I think. Because when I got my bad start, of course I'm not great at starts. But I think because I wanted to give Jake more space on the outside, because if I would have tried to get more space, would have probably spun anyway, and then Jackson on my inside, I can't really do much about it.
Yeah, free wide is never gonna work into turn 1.
Yeah, so Rythims, you were the only person from the front of the pack who didn't have a penalty until the end of the race. Like, was it in any way intentional that you were trying to not have a penalty desperately and try to have a clean race, or was it just luck?
From lap 1, I knew that if I would get a chance at the end, it needed to be without penalties, because if I would have had like 6 seconds of time penalties.
True.
That safety car was so scary.
Yeah, and it was really...
holy fuck.
Like, I got lucky, but also unlucky with Matt. So.
Yeah, it was quite funny, because I was like cursing when the safety car came out. I was like, fuck yeah, now Rytham's gonna fucking get me on penalties. And then he spun 2 corners before me, and I was like, okay, so you gotta tell me I got unlucky, or he got lucky? Probably thought he would get P2, and then he got unlucky in like 5 minutes time.
I thought I was gonna win.
Safety car, honestly.
Alright,
the amount it was out for was a virtual safety car.
Alright, now that we got all of this boring race stuff out of the way, I think we need to cross to the most important segment of every race interview we have. Does the podium have any comments about the Norwegian boys driving?
David, if you're watching, PG, and it's not PG friendly, sorry, suck my dick!
Oh,
So
wow.
I have light hatred towards him.
Alright,
Very
if
light.
everyone is going to be doing stream highlights, I think he needs to beep this out.
No, he has to just leave it in.
He deserves it. The thing with him, and I've said this to him plenty of times, he isn't slow, he's just a moron.
Yeah.
I think he's really young. He just needs the experience of it. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but then again, if you're young, what the fuck does being young having to do with crashing people out on a video game if you're actually trying to competitively
That's
race?
true. If David's
Because-
not in this league, I think I'm the youngest. So
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if he wins, he's all like, "Oh, I'm so good, I'm so good." Because apparently he likes the competitive part. Why the fuck would you then crash people out?
Well,
And then-
just to add perspective, he is in a F2 league that I'm also commenting on, and we had a 1 week break just because they needed to investigate dirty drivers, and guess who caused this investigation?
Baby, yeah!
Who else?
So, yeah. Alright, thank you for joining me. Another exciting race. I hope to see you again in the interview room sometime.